Founded in 1729, Arlington Street continues today as a gathering place for progressive people of faith in the greater Boston area and beyond. We are located at the corner of Arlington and Boylston Streets, across from the Public Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.
A few years ago, I got a text from a friend, and it linked to a social media post featuring a photo of Pope Francis in a white Balenciaga puffer coat, looking like a gangster. After a chuckle, I wondered, is this real? So I tapped that into my phone. I don't know, it looks real, replied my friend. The next day, of course, reports surfaced that it in fact was an artificial intelligence image that had fooled many of us, eager to be entertained by the idea of the Pope in streetwear. These days, the constant question we must ask ourselves whether we're watching a video of an improbably articulate toddler giving a life lesson or reading what we think is the news is this real? Looking real isn't enough to make it so. Is this real? What don't we know? And when will we know we don't know it? Of course, artificial intelligence is just the latest manifestation of the human challenge to determine what's real. We've been arguing about what happened and why, how to explain the natural world, our place in it, and how we come to know what we know for as long as humans have existed. Were the pyramids of Giza built by humans or aliens? Did Moses part the Red Sea? Does our world sit on the back of a turtle? Did Jesus rise from the dead? As much as we modern folks with some education like to think of ourselves as rational, guided by what we have the nerve to call our higher faculties, it's our emotions that are in charge much more of the time. As soon as we've had an experience, we're logging a story about it in our minds, and that becomes what we believe is real. But even when we're living in close proximity, presumably witnessing the same events, we're all experiencing our experience differently. Poet Lewis Jenkins gives a slice of this reality in his poem, Mockingbird. I remember when I was a child, he writes, I had a pair of canaries in a cage in my bedroom. I had the idea that I would raise and sell canaries. I asked one of my sisters if she remembered them. She remembered that they were parakeets, not canaries. I asked another sister. She said she didn't remember any canaries, but she remembered how mean I was to her. My youngest sister doesn't remember having birds, but thinks that we had a pet rabbit. I don't remember that. My brother thinks we had a pet cow that talked. I don't remember a cow, but I remember we had a mynah bird for a while that said, "Hello, sweetie pie." But he belonged to someone else. My mother says she would never have allowed birds or any other animals in the house. I remember how the female canary ignored the male but chirped plaintively to a mockingbird that sang outside my window all summer long. The poet reminds us that in the same room, in the same household, at the same time, vastly different memories of what had to be at least similar circumstances. We can be entertained at this incongruity as we hear the poem, even identify with the wildly different memories among family or friends. But what the poet doesn't get to is what happens when we go from finding it curious and amusing that we have such wildly different perceptions and memories that we call reality, to what it feels like to encounter someone who needs to say that their memory is the one true way it was. Is this real? What don't we know? When will we know we don't know it? Chilean philosophers Humberto Maturana and Francisco Varela, in their book Tree of Knowledge, explore why the apparent firmness of our experiential world suddenly wavers when we look at it up close. They ask how we come to share an understanding of anything. Another writer takes that question to her therapist. If a person has never seen the color blue, never experienced blueness in their creaturely sensorium, she writes, there are certain things you can do to convey to them a knowledge of it. Give them the electromagnetic wavelength of the color and examples of blue things and a conceptual portrait of what blue feels like. But all they will ever do is run around the world with this checklist of criteria in hand, asking, is this blue? How about this? Her therapist pauses for a moment and says, maybe they will never see blue the way you or I see it, but they can have an experience that is entirely new and entirely wonderful, and that will be their blue. They go on to point out instances of blue as perceived by philosophers and scientists. In 1672, German polymath Otto von Guericke held up his finger to a shadow between the light from his candle and the rising sun, and he saw his flesh turn an azure blue of the utmost beauty. The shadow that was created in the absence of light made an optical effect in the contrast between the different light sources, giving his finger a whole new color. A century later, the poet Goethe stopped to admire a yellow flower in the bright midday sun. And when he blinked and looked away for a moment, he was seeing the opposite of the real flower, even though he was looking at nothing. Color becomes not just a function of light, but a function of our perceiving brains, a collaborative creation between our minds and the world. We know now that when an image is too bright and brief for our retinal ganglion cells that carry signals from the brain to adapt to the changing stimulus, it creates that negative afterimage. He could just notice that there was this interaction between his brain and the light. So blue is not what we see, but what we co-create with ourselves and with each other. We are experiencing a world, write the Chilean philosophers, but when we examine more closely how we get to know this world, we invariably find that we cannot separate our history of actions, biological and social, from how this world appears to us. It's so obvious and close that it's very hard to see. We are all experiencing our experience differently, because we have different biological and social histories shaping what and how we know. What don't we know? We love our certainties, and researchers have shown how easily we default to what we think we know, even when we're confronted with evidence to the contrary. Like the case of Anne Friedman, an art gallery owner who for more than a decade sold works presented to her by Glafira Rosales, an art dealer. It later turned out that the whole Rosales collection were forgeries, including one painting that Anne bought herself and hung in her home, believing it was a Jackson Pollock original. She and multiple experts who saw it didn't spot it as a forgery, never even for years noticing that the artist's name was misspelled in the signature. When pressed on this matter, Anne says, even if I had noted that, I would have said, no forger would make that mistake. It wasn't a failure of eyesight as much as a failure of belief. Faced with incongruous evidence, you dismiss the evidence rather than the story. Or rather, you don't dismiss it, you don't even see it. The way we get out of the bubble of our self-confirming experience, the way we make any shared meaning or understanding of reality at all, these philosophers tell us, is love. It's our deepest way of knowing each other, and it's the biological impulse that puts us into a conversation with others in a way that can reshape our insular individual worlds. They write, without love, without acceptance of others living beside us, there's no social process and therefore no humanness. Anything that undermines our acceptance of others undermines the social process. Biologically, without love, without acceptance of each other, there is no social connection. And if we still live together without that social connection, we are living in difference and negation under a pretense of love. We have only the world we bring forth with others, and only love helps us bring it forth. Is this real? We ask ourselves as we look incredulously at news stories. Is this real? We ask ourselves as we have big feelings about what's happening in the world or within our community. It has been said that love is the quality of attention we pay to things, and that where we offer our attention becomes our reality. So what happens when we let go of those certainties and instead ask, what don't I know? And how will I know? When will I know I don't know it? Reality is something we make together, a commitment to share our attention, to lovingly question one another's perspectives as well as our own, and to let ourselves be stretched into new ways of being. In these times, we are being asked to take in so much information. It's tempting to draw really bright lines separating us from what we don't want to consider. It definitely helps us get through the media deluge, and we need to do that to make it through a day or a week. The question of how to turn back the wild conspiracy theories and hate-fueled misinformation that are rampant is far beyond what we can control as individuals. But when we have the opportunity to be together in community, what can we learn from our neighbors who seem to be living in another world if we take the time to get to know them and in the process know ourselves in a new way? The love that drives our co-creation of reality isn't a feel-good kind of love, at least not all the time. It's a practice that asks us to stretch beyond ourselves and make room for one another's truths, to see that the other's truth is genuine and real for them as ours is for us, though we may feel worlds apart. When we resist the urge to dismiss and malign the folks who are caught up in a different version of reality, we are creating a new act of love. We're insisting that we will not dehumanize ourselves or one another by forgetting that we are biologically, elementally, spiritually connected. Whether we ever agree on what is real or what is true is so much less important than our ability to continually learn how to love. The discomfort of our differences doesn't have to be a problem, but a thrilling fact of our biology, an opportunity to deepen our learning and to expand our compassion. It's an invitation to grow our souls in the direction of a place of wisdom that knows far more questions than answers. Is this real? What don't we know? When will we know we don't know it? Let us learn by remembering what our souls already knew but forgot. We belong to each other. We have the power to remake the world by opening our hearts. So let us make it so. Amen. Friends, let us join in our benediction by sending that love we just put our feet in front of each other through our fingers. Zoomers, you're invited to put your hands at the sides of your squares, and those in the sanctuary, hands up, palms out, send all of that great energy, the power of love that overcomes differences, that brings us together, gives us hope, and helps us shape the reality we want to see in the world. And as you feel that surrounding you from the energy of all those in the sanctuary and in the Zoom chapel, please bring it back to Heart Center and carry it with you into the week and the days ahead. My friends, love is the spirit of this community. Let love hold you until we meet again. The service begins when the service ends. Amen.
We are located at the corner of Arlington and Boylston Streets, across from the Public Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.